The dog attacks I was having, they started, oh, it'll be over 3.5 years ago now, and went on relentlessly for 2.5 years, just on this block here. It's a 320 acre block. I baited a lot along the original fence that was here, and they just kept coming, they just didn't stop. I spotlighted, I come over here early in the morning, and to no avail. Never seen a dog, never ever seen one, but they were coming in 2 and 3 times a week. They were working them, knocking the fence, putting them over the fences, holding them in the corners, knock the fences down, and it just never stopped. Well, I was going to give the sheep away and just have cattle. That was what I planned, and then the idea of this western fence come up. It's a solar setup. It's just run off an energiser and a solar panel. We've only got one solar panel here because it's only a bit over a kilometre, but if you go any further than that, you'd need 2. And just a deep cycle battery, and hook it up and switch it on. I've never had any trouble since I've put it on. It made such a big difference. I would have lost $35,000 worth of sheep here over 2.5 years. And it just stopped overnight when they turned the power on to stop.
Dog fence. Yeah, well, this is the old fence we had before. As you can probably see, why would you have 2 fences so close together? Well, I was very hard to convince at the time, just whether the new dog fence would work. And the only way we come to the decision, well, why don't we have the best of both worlds? I mean, the old existing fence was in great order. And I thought, well, why don't we leave it there? We'll have a 2 fence barrier. So I lost probably a bit of ground, but at that stage I was more worried about saving sheep than losing a bit of ground that we would lose. Yeah, no, well, the dog fence on the hind side, well, we certainly didn't need the old fence to be left here, but yeah, it's all worked very well together. The dog fence has taken the problem away of us worrying about wild dogs taking our sheep. My mental health improved immensely when we knew, we knew that there wasn't a dog problem.
We used to have a lot of wild dog problems when we first started here. We did fencing, and it kept them back, but then they learnt to go around the fence and come in on the frontage areas. But then 2014 the fires come through and ruined our 8-wire electric fence along this boundary. Well, that was burnt down, and we went to building this fence. Well, it's your standard hinge joint, so the narrow spacings, but then we put the offset on the outside to electrify it. The advantage of the hinge joint, it balks the animals, so they slow down compared to a straight electric fence. It does really work, because the dogs are more susceptible to electric wire than your wildlife, and I think they've got a thinner hair. With the higher powered new energisers, it makes it a lot more effective too.
In this location here, the old Gallagher fence was put up probably 30 years ago. We maintained it with reasonable results, but it had got to the end of its life. So this is basically the design we came up with. The steel assemblies, they're at least 1 metre in the ground with 1/4 of a cubic metre of concrete. From a lifetime point of view, it's all gal. The stay assemblies, they're fully welded out, waterproofed. And then in the ground, they're back onto a big steel plate, and that's welded so as there's no movement. There's only one gate in the whole 2 kilometres of fence, and this is the one here. That's our country out the back, but it's too hard to fence, 30-40 hectares, so it's fenced out. It's not only dogs, it's basically livestock we've got, we like to maintain and keep in good condition in our place, and the wildlife out there hopefully stays there.
Well, over the years we've had problems with wild dogs in particular, and also deer and kangaroos. It's not a deer or kangaroo fence, it's a dog fence, but it does help to reduce the number of other feral animals, deer and kangaroos, that come onto the property. We've gone a bit extra trouble with the end assemblies, and it's a 130mm pipe with a 5mm wall of the posts, and the stays a 60mm pipe with a 3.5mm wall, and they're both concreted in 3 foot. So I hope that those posts will be there for a long time, probably at least another 2 generations. Like, it's an expensive fence to put up. There's close to 1.5 kilometres. It probably cost, I don't really know, but in the vicinity of 20 grand to put it up, I suppose. But it's done. We haven't had trouble at calving for 2 years now. If you maintain it, you know your stock are going to stay here, your neighbour's stock are going to stay there, and that can be days of work sorting that out. So yeah, look, it's makes a big difference to your mental state of mind, that's for sure.
When the dogs were really bad here, it was about 5 years, they were extremely bad. They were the most pressing economic issue, but particularly when we had sheep, that we had, above all else. That's another nice bit of country you put lucerne into. We've put that up as a proper dog fence, 7 wire, 4 hot. So that works equally as well, and we don't have any problem with feral animals or kangaroos getting on those crops either. Between the activities of the producers and the good dogmen, we have got a much different situation now.